pleasant good evening to you, Reverend Lewis. Welcome to Hope 103.1 FM program for today, focusing on Leadership Plus and looking at Mastermind training. And that's a training that's coming up next week in Grenada at the Koyaba, and it's going to be for over the next 6 weeks, one day per week. And it's going to be focusing on some very interesting topic. And I want to invite you to greet our audience. We also have Paul Lewis joining us. He's the manager of the Koyaba Beach Resort, and he's like you, is also a coach and a trainer for John Maxwell. So we want to expose as much people in Grenada, whether you're a supervisor, or junior staff, etc. That's not where you're going to remain all of your life. You're expected to grow and go to a next level. So we want to expose as much people as possible to this training. So I'm going to say to you, introduce yourself, and then let's get a little bit more background on you. And you, Paul, we're not seeing you as yet. You're on, but your camera is off. So when you get a chance, great. The camera is still off. Just your image is there. But,
hello? Are you hearing
me? So, Reverend Lewis, over to you. Welcome.
Thank you, Trevor. It's always good to be with you and with Hope FM. And thank you again for the privilege to share what we are doing here in Grenada, and in terms of our mastermind training, which we have embarked on a new program on leadership development and management. So along with Paul Lewis, and we seek to provide this training through the John Maxwell team books and resources that are available to us as certified coaches, trainers, and speakers from the John Maxwell program. So welcome, Paul. And
Paul went back out. I think he's having some challenges with his camera. Well, so let's go ahead. Let's leadership.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Leadership in the 21st century is not, although it may have quite a bit of similarities to leadership in the 15th century, 18th, 19th, 20th century. It has changed remarkably, because now you have a lot more exposure to knowledge and information, and in a quicker period of time. Before, in the 80s and 70s, you had to send a fax, send a letter, and wait for weeks and months before you get a response back. If you want to, start a business or get into a business venture or import a product, etc., was a very tedious process. These days, it's welcome, Paul. You finally here.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone.
All right. So these days, knowledge and information has made doing business and even being a leader, I would say, a lot more challenging. Just walk us through a little bit about what's the difference with what was then and what is now, and then how we're gonna get into talking a little bit about what this course will involve.
Great. Like you mentioned, there's a dramatic body of knowledge on leadership and development. I mean, there are loads and loads of materials out there, and different writers and authors seek to attract the minds of leaders and potential leaders, and seek to encourage and challenge us in terms of the changing climate of leaders. And one of the things that we teach in our programs is managing change. So change is constant, but the way we manage the changes that affect our lives is going to be critical Change management has to do with perspective, how we view life, how we view our situations, how we view our environment, and how we respond to those kinds of new experiences that we would encounter.
Mm-hmm.
For example, just the layout of the leadership imagery. Before it was the head table, and you have the manager at the head of a table. That has changed into a round table approach. That
Mm-hmm.
everyone who sits around the same table has the same levels of management and leading and contribution that they can make, which was considered to be like a top-down style of leadership. But we're talking here about everyone with the potential to lead and direct an organization.
Mm-hmm.
So we are talking now about bottom-up leadership, so that we value all the people around the table.
Mm-hmm.
What is considered to bring all the human capital with them, the years of experience, the training that they bring to the table and contribute to develop an organization, a movement, a
Mm-hmm.
community. And so before it was where the manager, the president, the pastor shares knowledge and information, and the response was basically to receive what is given to you. But now we have participatory leadership, and it falls right into team leadership, where leadership is led more by a team than an individual. And so we're seeing a major shift in terms of how policies are being created, not by any particular one person, but by entire team of persons that come together and create and carve out the objectives, the goals, standards, regulations of a movement.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good. Paul, welcome, and let's greet the audience that's listening out there, because we want to hear from you in your part in this whole training that is coming up. So introduce yourself, and then we'll take it from there.
Paul Lewis. I'm also a leadership trainer and coach for the John Maxwell Foundation, and I also partner with John Lewis in delivering this exciting and excellent product and program to our leaders in Grenada.
Mm-hmm.
Been involved in leadership for the last 10 years, but been certified as a John Maxwell leader, trainer, teacher, coach for the last year. And I must say that it's an exciting journey of personal growth and development. And I would really like to see much more leaders get involved, because when you become a part of this program or a part of this leadership development, it basically transfer everything, or changes everything, or change the dynamic of leadership in the organization, in the church, in the business, wherever. Mm-hmm. And as Rev was saying, you move from a positional type of leader to a more relational type of leader. So we are on this journey to help persons become the best version of themselves, so they can lead and influence other leaders to become the best version of themselves and see the change happen within the organization.
Okay. I heard Reverend Lewis made a statement that because of the way how it's done, or participatory, it makes my question is, does it make decision making easier? Because let's suppose you have at this table 8 or 9 persons, each coming with their own perspective, etc. Does that make decision making easier in this era, or more difficult, because now the person who's the chair or etc. now has to consider all of that inputs before you're making a decision. And normally that decision is based is on consensus or majority. Well, that varies. But what in both of your opinion, what do you think?
Well, I believe it will make decision easier. Not,
Mm.
I won't say easier, but it will make it. You can say that because what happened? The Bible tell you that there are wisdom. Wisdom comes from the multiple of counselors,
Mm-hmm.
right? So when you have a team of leaders, you being the head, and you draw from the giftedness, the talent, the capability, and the resources of your team, then of course everyone aid in making that decision because you would have a goal and objective, whatever you have to meet, and by getting persons involved, then you gain a wider perspective of what you are trying to achieve, and then everyone who are involved, they become responsible for the vision, becoming responsible for the goal that you're trying to achieve.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah,
Reverend Lewis,
yes. I think the process is probably more intense and probably demand more time and effort.
mm-hmm.
But what we'll see that the outcome of the thinking and the involvement of everyone's contribution brings us to a better product at the end of the day. Because in each leader, there's still a blind spot. And so we can't see the whole picture at any given time. So our
Right.
team of leaders can help us see and have different perspective. So we could look at the same item, object, but how do we view it? And so it brings perspective and clarity and a greater measure of appreciation for the end result. Um, I remember a story, probably it might be appropriate right there. And the story is about a blind man that was asked to describe an elephant. So he touches different parts of the elephant. And so he touches the feet of the elephant. He said the elephant is like a big tree because all he could really is because of feeling. He sensed that an elephant is a really tall tree because he's looking down at the feet of the elephant.
Mm-hmm.
Someone touches the ears of the elephant. He said the elephant is like a fan. Um, yeah, the elephant feels to me like a big fan. So different people are getting perspective because they depends on how they may feel or touch something or investigate something and come away until we have the whole picture. That really in truth the elephant is not a tree or a huge fan. It is made up of so many parts that come together that really describes this particular animal.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about this training that is coming up. It's called Mastermind training, and could you give us a little background on the what is the text or the book, etc., that will be used for this training, and how could one become a part? Give us some information on where it's going to be held, the costing, etc., so that the audience could be informed and how they could register, all of that, and then we'll talk a little bit more about some of the topics that will be dealt with in that training.
All right. So just a quick overview of the program. It's coming out of the John Maxwell resources that is available to persons who become certified with the organization. This particular series of training is built around the book called Developing the Leader Within You. And we'll discuss the content of that. It is offered over 6 evenings of training, 1.5 hour each evening.
Okay.
So it runs from the March 17th, it goes up to April 28th. And so it's on Monday evenings for 6 evenings, starting March 17th to April 28th.
Okay.
And the time is from 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. So it's an hour and a half of interaction, discussion, and feedback. And so there's a cost to it, just to put this up front. The cost includes the textbook and the participant guide that each person will receive. And of course, we provide refreshments as well for each participant. So it's $900 EC dollars for these 6 evenings of training. And the mastermind concept, it's really an intense version of what the book involves. We'll actually use the book as a resource book, and each person will receive a copy of the textbook as well. And there'll be work to be done after each session, and leading up to the next session over a week interim. And so there is reading in the material. They come back with questions and comments. And so it is not a lecture style program. It's where we sit around a table primarily and have,
Okay.
and get feedback. Yes.
Okay. So you said the cost is $900 EC for the 6. So that's about $150 per session.
Yeah, per session.
Yeah, and that includes, of course, the cost of the book, which a book like that will cost you maybe $45, $50 or $60 or more. It could be more for a book like that, you know.
Yes.
And then, of course, you have refreshments. So you can come from work, or you could go home and refresh and come back. And it's going to be, the venue is where's the venue?
At Coyaba Beach Resort. Yeah. Coyaba.
Conference facility. Okay.
Yeah, the conference facility. And just to say up front, you can contact Paul, Lewis, or myself. So the numbers, which will come back at the end of the program, but you can take note of it. It's 534-3304. And that's for Paul and myself is 420-1100.
Okay. So let's get into the meat of the matter now, which we're going to talk about what some of the, just highlight some of the sessions that's going to be dealt with. Because, someone could say to themselves, well, I good, I have a degree, I have my degrees, etc. I think I'm doing well managing people, my business is successful, etc. Why do would you recommend this training for somebody? Somebody say, I'm needing a healthy, growing church. I have good people around me, etc. Why do I need to build my capacity in this area?
So I'll let Paul jump in here and talk about the highlight.
Now, let's say, for instance, one of John Maxwell said, leadership, everything rise and fall on leadership. And leadership is nothing more, nothing less than influence. Now, what you just mentioned there, you're good, the organization is thriving, you have a team of people around you that is doing well, everybody is working together to achieve the objective. If you do have that, that is great. You just need to now continue to sharpen your skills. Because what we have found over the years, and you might attest to that, most persons in business and elsewhere, you might have somebody that is very good in what they do. Right. But this is not about doing, this is about being, becoming the best version of yourself. There are people, for instance, we realize over the years that you would have promoted persons and put them in position. So they are what you call positional leaders. Right? Now, the only influence that they have is based on their authority and their position. But you want to move from that to move to a relational, or what you call a permission level of influence, where persons will be willing to follow you and work for you because of who you are, not because of the position that you hold. So as leaders, we have to focus on becoming the best version of ourselves in terms of building character, being people of influence, recognizing now that our role, we become now servant leaders because we now have to add value to the team. So in order to influence persons to achieve an objective, you have to value them, and the people have to know how much you value them or how much you care for them in order for them to follow you, to willingly follow you to help you achieve your objective and your vision. So once they know that they are cared for and you value them in terms of helping them to become the better version of themselves, then they will follow you. Now, if you as a leader fail to grow or fail to develop and grow yourself, there is no way you can help anyone become a better version of themselves.
Right.
Because you only focus where you are in terms of the positional aspect of your leadership, which is your authority.
Okay. You know, that word influence, right? In the Christian circle, it could give the impression of something that is you know, people are kind of hesitant because if you're influential, that means you're exerting control. But I'm glad that you went further to speak to the issue of servant leadership, because I think that is paramount. And in fact, the greatest of leaders, if you look down through history, were those who served their people, you know, not those who lord it over those who they control. In fact, I will tell you this: when you look at history, the king of France lost his crown and his head because he was lording it over the people. That's when the French Revolution came about, because the people say we tired with you living in your home at 5 or 6 mansions behind your gates, eating bread and sumptuous meals, while we suffering. We can't even buy bread or get bread to eat, you know. And there is a famous saying that, you know, his wife said they're asking for bread to eat, let them eat, you know, let them eat cake. And the masses rose up and beheaded him. So I'm happy that you talk about this whole issue of, so whether you in your own private business and you have 3 or 4 employees, what you saying, you manage, you overseeing the Lord's people, you know, with 100, 200, 500, 1,000, you still need to understand that you need to have influence, but it must be directed in a particular focus area. Reverend Lewis, anything you want to add on that?
Right. So one of the sessions will talk about how to increase your sphere of influence. Now, every person has a sphere that they can influence to a greater level than they are already doing. Sometimes we take our sphere of influence for granted. For example, a school teacher may think, well, I'm just going to school today and I'm teaching a group of students, and not realizing the potential that he or she has to influence these students to become the best possible student in the school or college or university.
Right.
So there, I mean, all of us, when we look back at our school days and the teachers that influenced us, are those that we remember their names and the contribution that they made within our lives.
Yeah.
And because we are the kind of people today because of teachers, using for an example. So they had influence on us. And today we are people involved as men around this room as men of influence because we had a great start. And so when we talk to educators, teachers, other facilitators, we must appreciate more and more the influential role that we have in the lives of people. Pastors, for example, I mean, they have a microphone every Sunday at least to influence their participants, their membership. And now it's available that you could reach across the globe. So here are pastors, preachers within the Christian context, teachers that can make a difference in the lives of so many people at the same time because of the platforms that we now have.
Right.
But we can easily lose perspective and think that I'm just preparing for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and do not give enough attention and time to details and for what you want to accomplish during a half an hour, 45 minutes or so. So we do have lots of people that we can impact. So we learn how to do that, how to increase that, how to build capacity in our own lives and
Right.
move that to a greater level of experience and training. And then we'll talk about managing conflict.
Conflict, yeah.
We are never escaping conflict, whether it's business, government, community work, church, even. Conflict is just like change, constant.
Right.
And how do we manage conflict? How do we manage responding to conflict in ourselves, firstly, and those that help to create the conflict around us?
I noticed that one of the topics you will have is learn how to lead yourself.
Right, you would learn how
That's pretty interesting, because I would want us to talk a little bit about a leadership scenario we saw recently displayed globally, and how and because I'm happy we're talking about influence and managing conflict, and we saw a scenario play out globally in front of live cameras by people who are supposed to be leaders, as we put it in quote, of the world, right? It'd be interesting to do a dissecting of that kind of and see the pros and cons. Yeah.
Yes. Well, Paul, we have done some work also with Alan Forte, and as Paul knows that he teaches a lot on this area of how to lead yourself. So perhaps, Paul, you could give us some insights there.
Because they said the toughest person to lead is yourself, right? We could always lead others. We could always tell others what to do. We could always direct others. But can we lead ourselves? Now, there's a question that asks, if you, right? Will you follow you? knowing you, will you follow you if you were me?
Yeah.
Knowing the attitude you have, nobody know you better than you, eh?
Right.
So you know your attitude. You know that you will discipline. You know that you're very hot-tempered. If your button is pushed too hard, you will react you'll get on in a tantrum. So now, will you follow you, knowing that about you?
Right.
And I think what we are seeing in leadership, or in people in leadership role, what we have just witnessed, is basically a level of immaturity from the highest level. You understand? Lack of self-discipline, lack of self-control, and person allow their emotions to get the best of them, not being able to regulate even when it is really demanded. You understand? So in terms of being able to manage crisis or manage conflicting situation, you have to be able to have this level of patience, internal patience. You have this internal regulator that will let you know when and how you should behave and how you should react in a particular situation. Because I have seen sometimes leaders, the way they react with a line staff, you should say it's two persons in a fish market. When you do that, you lose respect.
Right.
Because you are no longer respecting that person that you are trying to lead or trying to influence. Okay. And if you do not give that person respect, definitely it would not be reciprocated. So I think in that light, we have to learn to manage self, manage our emotion. We have to have a level of self-discipline, and we have to know that we're accountable all the time.
Yeah, I was listening to a program this evening, and the preacher was saying, if you could love yourself, if you could love yourself with all of your your issues.
Yeah, exactly.
Why you can't and respect yourself, excel. Why you can't love somebody else with their, with their struggles and their weaknesses, their challenges and their issues. And a lot of times we could see somebody's folly and faults. And as you say, we have your own blind spot. I think Reverend Lewis talked to that.
And
So
but even before sorry,
yeah. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, as you make mention of that, I mean, even in the Bible it says, love your neighbor as yourself.
Right.
So it always starts with self,
Mhm.
because you cannot give out what you do not have.
Right.
Right? So whatever is in the inside
Mhm.
is what will come out on the outside. And therefore, because there is chaos in the inside, if you do not learn to manage that
Mhm.
or reconceptualize that or regulate that, then whatever you're giving out is telling persons of the chaos that is within.
Yeah. That's true. That's so true. Yeah. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. As we say, if inside there's anger, it's anger that will come out. If there's wrath, there's wrath that will come out.
Until it's ready to come out.
Yeah. If there's love will come out. If there's compassion, if there is mercy. So you're correct. You're correct, and that of course rolls off into the fruit of the spirit. One fruit, but has so much different component. Reverend Lewis, I don't know if you want to comment on that, or we.
Right. So the fact is that one of the question that Paul asked is, would you follow you? And that calls for good reflection as well.
Right.
Because it helps you to do some real serious self-assessment.
Mm-hmm.
Because what it does, it helps you to track what you do, how you speak, and how you respond.
Okay.
Yes. So it really is a serious question for personal assessment. And because the truth of the matter, we could look well out there in the public eye, as we would say.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. But see, I was reading a quote from the text that we're going to use. It says that character is not built on intelligence. Because we could have the most intelligent person around us and yet lacks character.
Right.
So this program is designed to help us build and strengthen character. It's a character building mastermind training. And some of the other, just to move on a little bit, is how to distinguish yourself in tough times as a leader. These are tough times, as we all know. And we see how leaders, as you referred to, the public shutdown that was all over the globe. But how do you, as a leader, lead in these tough times? I mean, the world is unraveling right before our eyes. I mean, it's just chaos and crisis from the north, the south, the east, and the west. But how do you distinguish yourself as a leader of integrity, moral standard, and visible, but visibility is an outcome of what is inside the heart. The moral strength and moral fiber that affects and guides your deliberations. Someone has said that, something like education will get you to the top, but it's character that will keep you there. Yes. So we could be the most brilliant person in the room, lack the character of being just, being honest. Those principles.
It's true. I mean, you could have your master's, doctorate, etc.
Absolutely.
And still be have serious issues. I'm glad you talk about the world we live in now, right? Because it's you have to there has to be more. I think this training is timely and relevant because the way how the world is going now, you have there needs to be something greater inside of you, some greater character, right? Because you have to be so very, I would say, nimble. Adaptability is I mean, Paul, you in the tourism sector, and one day everything was great, and then the next couple of weeks you had COVID and all these kind of things. If you're not prepared to adapt, you understand, we're going to be in serious problems. Yeah. And then of course the whole issue of collaboration. We say all the time, oh, the world is a small village now, etc. But how willing are you to collaborate around basic maybe principles of state or your faith, etc.? How are you willing to come out of what I would call your comfort zone? How will this training help someone to come out of their small circle, the small fraternity of brothers, who we fellowship with, etc., and reach out to and begin to make use of the opportunities that are there?
I think all the principles that are necessary to give us the competitive edge in leadership are included in this program.
Okay.
Life is based on principles and laws, and this program provides that. Because as I said, first of all, you have to start working on you, because this book says developing the leader within you. And we said leadership is about influence. We say influence is about adding value and caring for others to help them become better so that they too can deliver and produce. Now, as we continue to develop and work on ourselves, we are developing and working on our influence with people, having a way with people. Because if we know how to communicate and collaborate with persons, then we know how to basically get things done. If we know how to work on our attitude, if we recognize that this journey of leadership is all about serving others, every encounter you have with someone as a leader, or anyone, when you leave their presence, you want to leave a story.
Okay.
So what do you want that person to read about you when you leave their presence? Now, what story are you telling? What script are you writing to the team? What script are you writing to a partner? What are you leaving with them? What would they say? What benefit? Because remember, you basically are there to serve. The main purpose of you is to give, is to deliver, is to add value, to empower. So if you are not doing that, then you're not leading.
Okay.
If you're not influencing, then you're not leading. You just have a leadership position, but you're not really a leader per se.
Okay.
And good. I mean, before you go, I think we have Miss Clark on.
Yeah, I was just about to do that. I see we have
right. So she's a past Mastermind student, so she'll come on and share experience later.
So I'm going to call later in now and ask you to unmute your mic, and then you could tell us a little bit about yourself, and then share a little bit about the impact of this training on your life and how you have utilized it. That's like 3 questions in one.
Yeah. Well, good afternoon. Thanks for allowing me to be part of the cast. My name is Jocelyn Clark. I am the Human Resource Manager of Cuyaba Beach Resort. And I took part in the John Maxwell's Mastermind session in regards to the book Leadership Gold. And well, let me just give you a little backstory. So I believe myself to be a lifelong learner, right? And mind you, it was not always like this. So I am grateful for where I'm at now in my leadership journey. So when Mr. Paul Lewis came to me with the proposal on the Mastermind, it was easy for me to approve. So we went ahead, we chose some prospective management team. And then I'm like, no, I have to be part of this. Because what I've recognized in my journey is the more you learn, the more you recognize you don't know.
Yeah.
Right? So With that program, it never failed. It didn't disappoint. A matter of fact, it stripped me. Right. During that program, it gave me moments of reflection. Right. I call it soul touching and soul touching moments. There were moments where it confirmed that I am on the right path, but most importantly, it highlighted the gaps that I needed to fill, the many gaps that I needed to fill to be a leader. Right. And what I recognize, in order for me to do that intentionally, to carry our team based on our organizational vision and mission, I needed to first look into myself. I needed to strip myself and be vulnerable, and apply the mirror effect, really.
Right.
Based on all of the chapters, although I did hear you guys touch on it, that stood to me, was the toughest person to lead is yourself. Because many a times we are less objective with ourselves when comparing it to others. So we judge ourselves based on our intention, and we judge others based on their action. And what you would see, there is a disconnect then, or it creates a leadership gap, because it doesn't align. And when we see that, we have to recognize that it is so. We are the ones that are creating dysfunction. We are the ones that are creating behavioral benchmarks that the employees are looking at. So if we are not satisfied with our team, it's because it's probably us. So that's pretty much what I gathered, amongst other things. But that chapter, I think it was chapter 2, it resonated with me.
Okay. My follow-up question is, how have you applied that knowledge going forward?
Right. So amongst this course, there were other courses and assessments that I did as a lifelong learner. And I recognized when I did the DISC assessment, I am a DC. So I drive and I am compliant. Now, what I recognize, one of my weaknesses was that I am impatient, because I like to get things done. Right. And what I recognize is that I need to pull back, slow my pace, so that I can be more relational, opposed to,
Paul, man, I can see the impact of
what I also recognize is too that with that course and the course that is coming up, because I'm definitely on board with leadership within you, it helps build your managerial team culture. Now, if you shape your management team, it's easy to infiltrate the other staff. So you can build your leadership culture for sure.
The term, you all use the term, lifelong learner. Speak to that a little, because there may be some people who think that they know it all, and I've met many people like that.
Yes. They don't know anything at all.
And and I've worked with many people like that. And I see, the problems of that kind of mindset. I could be very frank and see that a lot of politicians are in that category, where because you write a speech and give to them, after a while they begin to think like they know more than you, the technical expert, So and the risk, what's the risk of not being willing to learn? What's the risk of that, you think, for an organization, even for your own personal development, that personal journey?
So the risk of not wanting to learn is, just picture it, stagnant water. You're not going to go anywhere.
Okay.
pretty much. So if you want to strive, if you want to grow, if you want to flourish, if you want change, it is necessary for you to seek knowledge and gain wisdom.
Right. Okay. I see all of a topic here, which is be a good connector, not just a climber. That's interesting to me. And if you could speak to that because a little, because I don't want to give out everything that will be part of the course, but I think we're whetting some people's appetite. Let's say, hey, and wheresoever you are, whatsoever career path or stream you're on, there is room for you in this training, because you will not remain, let's say, maybe push. Let's say you're working, for example, let's say in the studio here, and you're behind the camera. You will not stay behind it all your life for the next 30, 40 years. Of course, you want to move from there to where you are directing who is behind the camera. So talk a little bit about that.
Great. So that's a great question, and it will come up in our discussion. So the motivation for connection should be to add value to people.
Okay.
So the people
that's the opposite of what I was thinking of.
yes. So we are connectors, and we deliberately connect with people that we want to add value to.
Okay.
And so that their own lives are better than before we met them, before you met them, before you became associated with them. So the goal and objective of connection is not personal or for your own aggrandizement, but is for their good. So that when they leave your environment, your sphere of influence, they are so happy, excited that they actually met with you and connected with you. Unlike the climber who steps on people's backs to get where they think they want to go.
Okay.
So the point of view is that we are not connecting with people for our own self-aggrandizement and self-promotion. Because generally you will hear in communities like, it's who you know, for example. It's a term that we use. So who the people that you have their numbers for and you could call, and sometimes we pride ourselves in those kind of association and connections, as we call them. But this is a total opposite view of what is referred to as building connections and not just climbing on the backs of others, to where we think we will get there because you want an association with this person because of benefits that can be derived for you as an individual.
Good. So strong biblical principle. I like that. The issue of change within yourself and within an organization is extremely important. I mean, we've touched on it, we have circled around it, but I want to hit bullseye on that now, because if you don't change, you are hearing the message. If you don't change, you will die, and that may not be not physically, but literally, you in terms of your growth, you remain stagnant. It's like you have the Japanese bonsai tree. They grow, they are short and they remain that way, in their small bowl. Talk about that. They how to create positive change. Talk a little bit about what will be involved in that session of the training.
Paul, you want to jump in here?
Jump in, when we have feedback. I'll give
Okay, sure. So let's use an illustration. Take watches, for example. Previous to all the digital watches, we had watches that we would chain. And so the owners and founders of that style of watchmaking held on to that method, how they would make their watches, and refused to change until another company came about and started giving us digital stuff. And so that's where the world is today. I mean, that company has since died, of course.
Right.
because they weren't willing to make any adjustments
Mm.
to the changes that was happening in the world. And there are
Right.
all kinds of examples to that. The
You have
kind of
Nokia, you have Kodak,
yeah,
you have BlackBerry. Yeah.
yeah. And if you don't move ahead, you get out of the market. We would say in the business term.
Okay.
So
Mm.
how do we create create products that are more efficient and that can be used more effectively, and that affects every sphere of life.
Mhm.
Um, and today we are talking about how do you look at the world in which we live, the environment in which we live, and see in the future, as it were. So when we are building, when we are targeting, when we are investing, it's not just for the next 5, 10 years, but we are
Mm.
building into the lives of people for
Yeah.
lifelong, and for the next generation as well. So we have to communicate in different ways. Take, for example, the Gen Zs. I
Mm.
mean, they don't understand some of the languages that we use as adults. So, how do we understand the vocabulary? How do they communicate? So we have to adapt,
Mhm.
and adopt some of these principles that would communicate. And so that's why we are losing a young generation of people who
Mhm.
seem not to be too particularly interested in their own personal leadership development. So how do we communicate in a way that says a program like this can help you manage, anticipate change? And because if we don't anticipate change, it takes us all by surprise and realize that we are too late and somebody else has gone wrong. Another example, of course, is McDonald's.
Mhm.
The founders of McDonald's thought that um, fine dining was the way, of the future, so that
Mhm.
everybody would sit down, with all the utensils and have all that's necessary in a nice dining room setting. And so the Kroc brothers decided, no, we're going to do fast food. We're going to
Mhm.
set up businesses all across the world, as a matter of fact, where people come in very quickly because they knew that the environment would change into people who cannot sit down for an hour to have lunch or wait
Mhm.
an order. But the drive-through, mean that even became better for them. And people pick up their sandwiches and they eat on the run, as we would say. I mean,
Mhm.
that has taken the world by storm. And
Yeah.
all over the globe, there's a McDonald's somewhere.
Well, everywhere
So,
now there's a barbecue stand.
it's that. And when you're driving home on a Friday evening, you grab your barbecue and you go home. So just those two factors, that how to anticipate the change rather than to be, surprised by the change when it comes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
So, gentlemen, Josan, you have somebody greeting you there. That's Zach saying hi.
Hi, Zach.
Yeah. Zach is one of our team here at Hope FM. So,
Oh, that's great.
well,
Yeah.
the holistic benefit of this program, when one is finished with it, with this 6 weeks program, what is it they get? They
Paul?
get a certificate. Or do they, what they walk away with a certificate?
We don't want to see a certificate. I mean, the certificate is just something to put on the wall.
The wall, yeah,
But
yeah.
you live a changed and a transformed person.
Right. Okay.
That's the most
You would
important.
lead with wisdom, believe me, and a changed mindset.
And a changed mindset.
Okay.
And you now have to apply, because we don't want you to take the information and just leave it there.
There, yeah.
But it will be of no use to you.
Right.
We just talk about change. Change
Yeah.
is the only thing that is constant.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, we recognize that we anticipate change. We recognize the environment is changing, especially in the service industry in which we are.
Mhm.
And that's why we even took the initiative to name our leaders within the organization, we are now drivers of change. So we've been proactive and driving the change initiative here.
Right.
So these programs like this will only help us to have a competitive edge.
Right.
Because we realize that if you do not learn to adapt and learn to be agile, then you'll get left behind.
Yeah.
Because the demand are changing, people expectation are changing, and therefore when you leave this program, if you take this program, you will be a better person. And if you change, then everything around you will definitely change.
Right. Great.
What I would want to say is that it would definitely transform your leadership skills. But if you're coming into the program, what I would advise is that you come in with the intent. You come in with intention, right? To learn, to unlearn, and to relearn. Yes, it is necessary, because what you would recognize is that some of your actions and behaviors from prior, you would have to remove that in order for your team, for you to carry your team forward.
Yeah, and to become your best self,
To become your best self.
I think on the program last night we got for the men, we were talking about that every man must desire to become their best self and not settle for branding by the wall, etc., following that, but be your best self, and Paul said to Timothy to study, to show yourself approved, a workman, that is worthy of his position and office,
Right.
and being able to rightly divide the word of truth, meaning be able to impart wisdom and knowledge and understanding at the appropriate time, at the appropriate moment, and that could only come through. Yeah.
Sorry, Trevor, just because of our time constraint, develop your staff. Now, so we're inviting managers to participate in this program as well, assistant managers or the key players within the organizations and companies. So it is a room where you will take away from this and implement, proactive changes that can make your companies, your organization function optimally. And so we trust that those who are viewing, listening, will connect with us and participate, register. It's just a couple of weeks away. And so we'd like you to sign up and register for the program as well.
Amen. Well, Hope FM is always, very, very supportive of these kind of initiatives, because we believe in that, the people of God, the kingdom of God, we must lead the way, and we must seize these opportunities to be empowered. And there's so much Christian businessmen out there, small, medium, large, and sometimes they could feel they're under so much pressure because their wall is so small. And this is an opportunity for you to network also, to meet some other people and learn, and so that you can grow yourself, as we have heard, yourself first, but also grow those around you. Yeah, and at the end, the whole enterprise will grow, the kingdom would grow, because now you're beginning to apply, and I don't see this so much as in quotes worldly values, etc., but these are biblical principles that have been broken down into language that we could understand in the times that we're living in. The Bible says the men of Issachar, they understood the times and the season, and they knew what to do, and somebody needs to be encouraged today. I want to encourage somebody, take a bold step, this will be well worth it, the transformation that will take place and the impact it will have on, and from what I'm hearing here, it's going to have an impact in you and in your home environment, your relationship with your family, your brothers and sisters, your husband, wife, etc., and nieces, nephews, and then it extends outwards. So this is a great opportunity. We want to encourage you. It's only $150 per session. You're getting a free book, the book, which this book, if you go online, you might see it for 40 US. You're going to get it. And of course, you're going to get there's refreshments, etc. So, gentlemen, ladies, thank you very much for joining us this evening.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you for having us.
We will replay this sometime later on this week and next week, so that people could hear about it and once more seize the opportunity to be empowered. So I'll give you all the final word. Just share a final word on what is it, this mastermind training is all about, and then we'll wrap.
Ladies first.
Well, I'm just going to use a line. If you want to grow, and you want to grow intentionally with purpose, you have to join that session on the 17th.
Okay.
Yeah. And I would just encourage everyone to just come and join a team of persons that are on a leadership journey. That's how we call it Mastermind, like-minded individual who wants to grow themselves, to become better in order to influence others to be the best version of themselves also.
Right. Just to re-emphasize, one of the topics we'll talk about is learn how to increase your sphere of influence. Learn how to increase your sphere of influence.
Mm-hmm. So God bless you. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to having you all back again, maybe to do a evaluation of the training.
That's not a problem.
Let's put that on the agenda to do an evaluation of the training, so that we could all be empowered.
Sure.
All right, sir. Thank you.
Have a good night.
Have a good evening,
Thank
everyone.
you. Thank you very much.